Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, we start things off, you might just think, oh, it's a cool desert scene, you know, some strange rock formations, because this is what can happen with strong cosmic electrical scarring on our world. You can actually pull mud and sand and stuff up into the air using electricity. The ground itself was pulled up into the air and then touched the heavenly angels or the plasma from above, completing an electrical circuit between the two, which instantly petrified that mud. Which is why it looks like these things just, I mean, look at that right there, right? It was pulled up, it floated up into the air, or was pulled up into the air, attracted to the electromagnetic discharge from above, or the cosmic discharge. And when it touched, it became petrified, right? Take a look at what he drew on the chalkboard. Let's take a quick little look at this. I find these things interesting, the things that they draw in the background. The word literal, the word rush construction, and what appears to be a dome. Isn't that interesting? The Holy Grail, Dr. Jones. What does grail mean? The word is perhaps ultimately from the Latin word crater. Is that mind-blowing? Let that sink in for just a bit, right? The Holy Grail literally means the holy crater of the earth, basically. If you take a look at the land said to be at the North Pole, you can see it is all a valley. It is 360 degrees encircled because it is a crater in the middle of the world. That's amazing.
But the same exact thing can be replicated whenever you shock the ground, when you shock sand, or whenever you make a divot in the ground by electrocuting the ground itself. The edges around the point of electrocution or the point of impact will rise up and create the same exact type of rim going around the whole structure.
So this is the bowl, this is the crater, right? This is the Holy Grail that caught the blood of Jesus when he was being crucified. So right there in the middle, shooting up out of that mountain, which is Mount Meru, let's zoom in, right? Rupus nigra, right there. A beam shoots straight up out of that, right? Now we zoom back out. That beam becomes a cross. That beam becomes the beam that Odin hung upon, or the tree that Odin hung upon, and the cross of Jesus, etc. There's many, many different references to this, right? And at that exact same site is where manna, or this food of the gods, this liquid, this holy honey, or whatever you want to call it, of the gods, rained down from the sky and filled that entire valley with this electromagnetically charged substance that was created whenever the plasma shot up and interacted with our atmosphere, right? So basically it rains down this stuff that's sort of gooey that you can eat, and it energizes you, it charges you. That is the blood of the figure that is seen, the cosmic plasma figure that is seen in the middle of this bowl that catches the blood, so to speak. And he sees that his dad mailed him the Grail diary, right? Let's check out this next page. See that sword? That's the blue beam. That's Excalibur right there. That's why it's in there, and that's why it's directly related to the Grail, or the crater, the Holy Crater, the Holy Grail, etc. So let's zoom in on this one, because there is something in here that I thought was interesting. The order of the Grail could have been the same sword drawn from the stone by Arthur. Right? Okay. Now you see the little cross right there that represents the four rivers that separate the four lands on each side. You know, boom, 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 boom. Those are also the four corners of the earth, according to tradition. Very interesting. So it's Excalibur. Usually they built these types of structures on top of cavernous inner earth systems, basically holes in the earth that allow that positive inner earth energy to seep up and out, and it's collected and stored in this building so that it doesn't just seep out into the atmosphere. And then they would have people come into these buildings and be healed, right? Instead of having to go all the way down into the earth, into a cave or something, they just allowed that inner earth healing energy to come up, and they just collected it in these types of what are known as cathode buildings or cathedrals. They would oftentimes line the walls with pipe organs so that they could program the vibrations and the frequencies in order to fine-tune what type of healing was given. A stained glass window. They didn't want any of that energy coming out. This is not a regular window. But check this out. See these Roman numerals? These play a huge part in the movie. But you can find these in Freemasonry. Exact same symbolism. This has 7 on the left, the V or the Vav in the middle, and the 3 on the right. The 3 columns, the three pillars. Here's another one right here, where you've got the 3 columns, you've got the Roman numeral 7, the V in the middle, and the 3. And then they both do this, right? The Father and the Son, right? One after another. These are representative of Atlas, right? Or the beam that shoots up and then spreads out at the top, and it's seen as holding its hands up. The symbol, the image of peace, right? I'm not going to harm anything. I'm peaceful. Now, take a look at the fireplace. Have you already seen it? Atlas. They're doing the hands up on each side, exactly like how him and his father had just done. So the symbol for Castor and Pollux in the ancient world was 2 beams. This blows my mind. 2 upright columns joined by a crossbar as the protectors of the Spartan army. The beam figure, they literally called this the beam figure. Here's a little toy action figure of the Dokana. I don't know, how did they even have this? This is interesting, but it's cool. I like it. The 2 markers that we were seeing in the movie that were split in half, and they had to find these 2 markers so that they could know where the Holy Grail was, is this. They're going to be one on one side, one on the other side. The 2 witnesses, the 2 angels. Let's check out the back side of this coin. On top of it is a volcano with the missing top. And flanked on either side is this anode and cathode with an electrical arc in between them. Just in case you thought that was a fluke, and this one you can see there's 3 little electrical arcs that go across. The taller it is, the more little rungs in the ladder you're going to have. This is the Jed, which is where we get Jedi from, in Egyptian mythology and history. An electrical arc, an arc discharge, is an electrical breakdown of gas that produces a prolonged electrical discharge. Now check this out. But I want you to take a special look at this carving that's in front of him. Okay? Take a look at this carving. You see that? He's in an egg, and he is flanked by some sort of a cosmic bird and some sort of a cosmic angelic being. On the sides, we see that there are these columns. Interesting. And there's a little guy inside of the column with a little arch that's connecting the 2 pillars. This is insane. Here's another one. I highlighted it so you could see it better. See? So this is before, this is after. You can see that there are the electrical arches, right? It's electricity. It's electromagnetic. And he's sitting inside of this central egg. And he's got one hand up and one hand down. Kind of like that symbol I was talking about earlier at the book burnings or whatnot, right? And he's squatting. He's the squatter man, if you can see that. Now, why does he have one hand down and one hand up? And on either side is Castor and Pollux, right? The anode and the cathode. This is reciprocated all over the place, but this is where this comes from. This is also why the Illuminati or the Freemasons, etc., and all those various fraternities use this exact same type of symbolism. It is the Castor and Pollux symbolism. This is also where you get the origin of the caduceus and the rod of Asclepius, right? One of them is whenever there are both anode and cathode present, and they make the double snake all the way up the central pole. The other one is whenever one of those has gone down into the inner recesses of the underworld and it is missing for a time and it is seen as having died or, on vacation or something, right? So that's Mount Meru right there. On one side, you have all the good guys. On the other side, you have all the bad guys. This is positive and this is negative. This is the anode and the cathode. And when they are working together and they're all standing in the water, okay, there's an electrical charge that runs into the ocean water itself. And all kinds of interesting things start to happen because that electrical charge can change the water, okay? It can break it down into its actual elemental forms. Here's another picture of symbolically the anode and the cathode working together on either side of Mount Meru and the ocean water turning white. It's called the churning of the ocean. Let's read the legend. Once in a while, you get a glass of water and it looks cloudy, maybe milky is a better term, right? After a few seconds, it miraculously clears up. The cloudiness might be caused by the water in the pipes being under a bit more pressure than the water in the glass, but it's more likely due to tiny air bubbles that are in the water. Now, if you put a battery into water, specifically this 9-volt as an example, right? It creates an electrical arc or current between the two, right? And this is what it looks like. If you could do this at home to see how the churning of the ocean works. This would be the Asuras, this would be the Devas, basically Castor and Pollux. The arc in the low pressure sodium lamp extinguishes each half cycle as the lamp current reverses direction. And it says that the current reverses direction, but it happens so fast that we can't see it. That's because we have microscopic examples. If you take one and blow it up to the size of a country, you might be able to see it taking turns and the god appearing and then disappearing, the other one taking its place, etc., right? During saltwater electrolysis, toxic chlorine gas can also form at the anode. Right? Remember that story of the churning of the ocean? And they got together, the positive and the negative. All of a sudden, all the bubbles in the ocean started turning white, and there was this toxic gas or fumes that were emitted on one side. Are you seeing the connection? All right, so Indiana Jones is in front of the knight. The knight says, "You are strangely dressed for a knight," right? He doesn't feel like he should be dressed like that. Why? Because they're inside of an electrical mountain, okay? And the knight is properly outfitted to handle the current. The knight is wearing chainmail, which acts as a Faraday cage to protect him from shocks from the holy bees that float about in Mount Meru, basically. Oh, snap! Oh my, something's not right. This guy starts super aging, right? He gets old real quick. Starts turning into this mummified version of himself. Let me back it off a bit. Okay, I'm back it off. I know it's creepy. Let me talk to you about something. The way that he is aging. Okay, I know this is creepy. Look at him, right? This is us. Sad to say. This is you. Right now. All of you. This is me. This is all of us. At this moment in time right now. Without the grail. Without the life. Without the fountain of youth. This is what's happening to you as we speak. You are rapidly aging. It's just that you've been brought up and grown up in a world that's so used to rapid aging, faster and faster and faster, that it's the frog in the pot syndrome. You're just grown accustomed to it. I'm here to remind you, this is not the natural way of things, right? Some of us, we don't hearken to this age. Some of us, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel normal. We can feel ourselves. We can feel our skin changing and dying and, entropy kicking in and watching our hairs turn white, and that's not the way it always has been. This is the world you live in. Super fast. People grow, they get old, they die fast. They're babies that age fast, basically. But in the world to come, not so much. He chose poorly. I love that part because he obviously did not like the dude. So he's trying real hard to be cool, but he's like, nah. So they narrowly escape as this column breaks and falls. Exactly how we talked about. One of those columns has to break. If we're talking about an electrical system that is similar to possibly an alternating current off of a much greater, grander, low pressure sodium vapor lamp type of plasmic arch, right? One of those columns, Castor and Pollux, right? I forgot which is which right now, but one of them has to die. It has to go into the underworld, and then they switch places. And it happens on a small scale so fast that you can't really see it. But if you make that the size of a country, you will see it, right? One of those columns breaks. One of those pillars of the world breaks. It dies. It goes down into the inner recesses of the earth. And we have evidence of this in the symbolic imagery of the Freemasons, right? In other images, he's holding her hair, almost like she doesn't know he's there, right? It's like he's invisible. So it's like it's not some weird creepy old man standing behind this virgin chick with angel wings or whatever. He's holding onto her hair almost like he's controlling her or manipulating her as she stands at the foot of the broken column. Right? That symbolizes one of those lights disappearing because it's possibly an alternating current. So he's holding onto her hair almost like he's controlling her, right? Let's take a look at another picture. Here it is again. Same old angel guy holding the hair of this young virgin who is at the broken altar. Once again, Father Time. Here's another one. This is from an actual building where they have the broken column, the virgin, and Father Time, or the angel that she doesn't even know is there behind her. Rakakuni is what that reminded me of. Actually, see how he's like holding onto her hair, right? And he's kind of controlling her. That totally reminded me. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but this is from Everything Everywhere All at Once. I did break that movie down. It's exactly like the raccoon holding on to the dude's hair, or Ratatouille. Same thing, right?